Hello friends and fellow YouTubers. This is a free X-rated speech. I'm a ranting pissed off American who's going to do a little travelogue right now. I just got back from my wife's vacation and I had a good time. We saw a lot of the country, and that's what it's all about, driving around America and seeing America as it is and hopefully as it will stay. Our country is being transformed into something that's not recognizable. But I'll get into all that in other videos. But right now, let me tell you about the trip. It was a good trip. We started out at midnight a couple weeks ago, and we traveled up all the way up Utah on I-15 to Salt Lake City, and then we caught the 80 going east. And just beautiful country, and went through all through Wyoming. We did something that we would never do again, and that is because the wife, she had plans, and she had to be in Milwaukee by Friday, and we left on a Tuesday night, actually Wednesday morning at midnight. And so the bottom line is we drove 1,100 miles non-stop, tag team driving and all that. So anyway, we went all through Wyoming. And Wyoming, to me is fairly desolate, but, there's some interesting things there. They are a self-sufficient state. If they want to secede from the Union, which I think a lot of states are mulling right now, Wyoming would be just fine on its own. And the bottom line is we drove all the way through this 80, and then we caught this one highway, and I can't remember the name of it. I wish I would have. Or actually, I should. I got all of them here. But I think it was I-25, and then we went on a certain route. But the bottom line was to get to the Black Hills and to Deadwood, South Dakota. And we got to Deadwood and spent the night there. Or actually, yeah. Spent the night in Deadwood. I don't like, Deadwood's kind of a weird town. They say it's kind of old, historical, this and that. No, it's new. It burned down a couple times over the years. It's where Wild Bill Hickok supposedly is buried. My wife went up to the graveyard, but she didn't bother going looking for the grave, and I don't blame her, because they didn't make that big a deal of it. But anyway, it's a new town. The hotel we stayed at, the Majestic, I think is what it's called, it's new. And so a lot of it's new, but it's made to look old. The one thing I did like, across the street from our hotel, there was an old hotel over there, even though it's probably just as new, but with these mannequins that look like hookers. And I thought that was pretty cool. We got a picture of that. But anyway, and then the bottom line is Mount Rushmore, because that was the whole thing of going through South Dakota. Well, plus it's on the way, because you got to catch 90. But anyway, from Deadwood we went, down to Mount Rushmore. And Mount Rushmore is very cool. I've seen it 100 times on the History Channel, Discovery Channel, and all the channels, because those are the channels I watch. And the bottom line is, you got to see it in person. I mean, it's truly awe-inspiring. And what I get a kick out of is the Europeans and the South Americans. And I've seen it in all our national parks. It's foreigner dominated, which is a good thing, because then that way they learn about America. But all the languages being spoken and everything is pretty cool. And they're in just as much awe of it as any American would be. Probably not the communist left as much as real Americans. Communist left I don't consider real Americans. I consider you need to be somewhere else. Like that Van Jones clown. One of Obama's 3 dozen czars. How the hell did this happen, folks? How the hell did it happen? A freaking communist. But then again, the president's a communist. But anyway, he's African. He's not a black man. He's an African. He's even said it. So I don't even know why the dude's here. But let's get beyond all that. So the bottom line is Mount Rushmore. I don't know how I got off on that. And then we went on to Minnesota. We didn't find any casinos at Sioux Falls, but then again, I-90 goes is north of Sioux Falls, and I missed a turnoff or something. So we didn't go see any casinos there or whatever. So we stayed overnight in Laverne, Minnesota, which is right on the pretty much close to the border with South Dakota. Laverne was fairly cool. We stayed at a Comfort Inn, and it wasn't that bad. And an indoor pool. The wife got to swim and all that happy stuff. And then on to Wisconsin and to Milwaukee. And we go to Milwaukee because she wanted to be there Friday night for fish fry. Apparently in Milwaukee, this was something that everybody always did, was go to a fish fry, because it's a Catholic town way back once upon a time. And they used to have fish fries in the churches. But now, you know, and then they went on to restaurants because it just became one of those things, where a tradition. And her father built this one place, and the bottom line is there is no menu there, you know, and they got tons of waiters and waitresses and busboys. All they serve is fried fish, and it was good. It was freaking good, and beer, alcohol. But it was when you're sitting in there and you're looking around, you're back in the '60s, and I loved it. It was truly cool. And so anyway, and then we stayed with her sister and her niece, and that was a great time. And we went to the state fair on Saturday, the next day. I've never been around that many people. I'm not a people person. I'm someone. How do I say this? I'm not a big crowd person. I'm just not into them. Never have been, and I just can't. It's hard. It's tough for me to deal. But I soldiered on through the whole day, because this was the wife's big thing. She had her brother come down from an hour away in Milwaukee, somewhere in Wisconsin, to meet her there. And, you know, he didn't want to be there, but he came down to see his sister and all that. So that was great for them. But he was like me. He really did not want to be there. I mean, a lot of food. I mean, we saw the pigs. We saw all the livestock and all that stuff, all the food. But it's a lot of walking around with a lot of people. And if you're not into people, state fairs are not where you want to be. So anyway, we got through that day, and that was cool. She got to see most of her family. Sunday, I can't really remember what the hell we did Sunday, but it was with the family. And then we spent the night, one more night, and then took off on Monday for Chicago. The Sears Tower. That's what we wanted to see in Chicago. And we went to the Sears Tower and went up on that, and that's nuts. You can see all of Lake Michigan. Well, what you can see, it was a really cloudy and foggy day, but you can still see a lot of the city. And all the way around, it was very impressive. Chicago's a really big town. And so that was cool. They have these things now that you can walk out on and look straight down. I couldn't do that. I developed something about heights a few years back, and my balls are in my stomach. I can't do it anymore. And that's funny, because I used to fuel planes, and I'd be up in the air on these 747s, DC-10s, L-1011s, whatever. Bottom line is, I did a lot of high and in a basket where you're woo in the wind or whatever. So it's pretty nuts. But anyway, that was nuts. And then we left Chicago. After that, you know, Branson, Missouri was the next main stop. And going through Illinois, the bottom line is all these states that we passed through, South Dakota, Minnesota, Illinois, Kansas, everywhere is corn. We could feed the world with the corn production that this country produces. And the fact that any of it's used for fuel is stupid and a joke. That just drives me out of my mind. But that's the deal. I'm going to have to make this a two-parter. So anyway, we got to Chicago. Illinois is a pretty cool state. You know, it's all farmland and whatever, and it looks pretty cool. And then it was on to St. Louis. I'll come back with St. Louis in the next one. That's part one of the travelogue. Later.